Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Disco Elysium. I'm Colonel RPG, as usual, and I'm very happy that it chose to join me today because we are running out of time on the day, and we're talking to Joyce Messier over here, and she's open to discussion on a later occasion. What happened to this garment that you were talking about? Mr. Clare told him to... How did he put it? And she pauses to compose herself. Fuck off, midget. Garment is short of stature, you see, she says. Not cool. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him on the union. Sounds like usual aggressive posturing. Oh, that's our authority talking. I think that's posturing from Mr. Clare. Also interesting, that's the second time that posturing is used in this dialogue to describe things, although the other time I think it was my choice if I could have done it. Tell me about this union boss, Mr. Clare. Evrard, I think. Evrard. If I really want to add the R to, I'm afraid of it because of the microphone. Yeah, I don't use it. I don't do it properly. But anyway, the thing is, Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first. Really? Of course not. Evrard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood. That might shed some context into the 2,200 signatures that are required to make any board decision, or that he wants, anyway, to make so. That might be the reason why. Is he that bad? He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar, or something. Nepotistic there meaning somebody who benefits their family when doing business. Not necessarily, well, that is a form of corruption for sure, but that's not, I wouldn't say that's, I mean, I'm not trying to excuse nepotism. It's just that there's types of corruptions that are a lot worse than just hiring your family members, which is bad for sure. But anyway, wait, there are two of him? Edgar? Yeah, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Evrard does. And when one's term is as foreman is up, the other takes over. It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see. With a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they have embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues. Now that is the type of corruption that we're talking about here, or that we could be talking about here, I suppose. What about the union itself outside the Brothers Clare? The Debardeurs Union, she says, was once a perfect, normal institution. Perfectly normal, she says. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it, and I can respect that. She adjusts her hair. Organized labor at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The Brothers Clare came and transformed into it a... How do you say? She hesitates, looking for the right expression. A mob, Kim says, succinctly. The Debardeurs are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, we're forced to cooperate with them. Refreshingly honest, officer, she nods. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Evrard and his brother. She turns to you. And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see, she explains. Would you say the Debardeurs Union is... Well, I would say, me, Colonel RPG here, I would say it is probably the narrative equivalent of the... not autocratic, what's the word? Bureaucratic, yeah, that's probably the good one. The narrative equivalent of the bureaucratic Workers' Party. Is it Workers' Party? I'm not really sure. In the Soviet Union, where basically Well, it's kind of complicated, and also I'm not at all the best person to talk about it because I don't have either first-hand experience or actually a lot of knowledge about the subject. But I'm led to believe that basically the starting with, I don't know names actually, but basically the second part of the 20th century, the Soviet Union became a lot more bureaucratic in its working, and the corruption just skyrocketed a lot. At least that's the popular opinion that I get from people who have lived in the Soviet Union or live in Russia. Just sort of that opinion. It's closely related. I'm saying the word bureaucratic because that's how I learned. That's how mostly I've learned about the history of that word and about the impression that that the Soviet Union has left in the minds of a lot of people, not necessarily of everybody for sure, but I think that's what the text is trying to evoke here, is just the similar situation where what once started as a valiant, in her words anyway, effort to defend workers' rights, eventually became a corrupt organization. And so that's my interpretation, is that it's what the game is trying to juxtapose here. As for my character, I don't know. An effective advocate for the rights of local working men. A giant, not working women, evidently. A giant leech sucking the life out of Revachol. Basically a socialist mob. And I prefer to not have an opinion on these things. I don't think my character is going to be one to shy away from opinions all that often. But this is very... It's very... what's the word? I suppose it's just sort of not radical. All these stakes, they're not necessarily radical, but they're sort of very acute, very poignant, and so whatever we choose are taking a hard stance, which is something I am not comfortable with at this point. But I'll still take it because I want to see what. Well, I'll still take a hard stance and see what happens. The problem is we're only really having her own perspective on the matter. We have not really dealt with the union ourselves, so I wish I could have said that and just be like, I don't know, I need to learn that. I mean, from what you say, maybe they're an effective advocate for the rights of local working men. Or a giant leech sucking the light of Revachol. I'm gonna go with that. Indeed, says Joyce. And a hungry one, she nods. Sadly, Wild Pines has cooperated with what amounts to a crime syndicate for 2 decades. However much you feed the leech always hungers. Excuse me. And it is important here to... I mean, I am only taking her word for it. It's important to see here that crime syndicate... the thing is, what defines crime is who's in power. If the syndicate was in power, then they wouldn't be a crime syndicate now, would they? A crime is not... What I mean by that is that crime is not an absolute term. You're not a government and a crime syndicate at the same time. You can't. That's antithetical. You can't do that because otherwise you would define yourself as criminal, which... Well, that's not what crime means. That's not what the word means. But she might be just referring to... she might, and I doubt it, because that's not really usual, and honestly it would be better of the writing itself, but she might be referring to them just committing murder and just sort of being general jerks. Or, most likely, she's referring to them doing something outside of the law. Now, who controls the law? I think the Emergency Act there that we have heard before, I think that's a hint about who controls the law, and they are... I don't think that it's they have the workers' rights in their hearts or in their minds about controlling the law first. So basically, if the syndicate does anything like, for example, taxing outside of the law, or like, for example, doing loans outside of the law, that is the traditional, not a traditional definition, but sort of a very good and traditional example of a crime syndicate. And if you look at the United States, for example, in the first part of the 20th century, where in a lot of cities, the crime syndicates were the de facto law because, well, they were indeed outside of the law and syndicates, but they were still criminal because they were outside of the law, but they worked like a government in some cities. I don't know examples, but I've read about this. I forget the specific examples. But then the police took over, and the government, the federal governments often took over and just, yeah, it's all about the balance of power, really. Because who has the right to police, who has the right to judge, who has the right to tax, and who has the duty as well to provide for public services and all that sort of stuff. If indeed we do have public services, I don't know if that's the case over here. So that's the definition over there of crime, and then syndicate over here. Syndicate is a tricky word because for the word union in English translates better into Portuguese, which is my mother tongue, and also other languages, including French, I believe, as a syndicate. It translates better as a syndicate. So it is sort of eerily close to, they are technically a syndicate. So they're not actually technically, they're pragmatically, objectively a syndicate because they are a union. It's just that in English you don't say the word syndicate, you say the word union, and you prioritize the fact that it's unionized rather than just being a syndicate. But in Portuguese, because of historical reasons and also linguistic reasons, we just use the word syndicate. I'm not sure if it's the same in Russian. I would believe it's the same in Russian as well, since we were talking about the Soviet Union and whatever. But I'm pretty sure it is because I'm pretty sure I've heard that word in Ukrainian specifically, which is not Russian. It's similar though. Either way, the point is, yeah, who defines the crime? One more thing I'm gonna say. You said something happened in the elections. I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the union. She disappeared. Disappeared? Asks him. And Joyce says, yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore. Or coming to work. Excuse the hiccup. Ever. End of story. This forewoman, her name, asks our reaction speed, and I'm going to ask that as well. Sadly, the company records do not even give a name. She's just forewoman in private correspondence. Holly. I don't even know if it's a sir or given name. That's one way of saying it. And I don't have access to the union's files. Eerie. Downright haunting, if you ask me. The Wild Pines suspected foul play, but what could they do? It was a union matter. The point of the presentation is these kinds of things happen around Claire's. Watch out when you're dealing with him. Thank you for your concern, ma'am, says Kim. We'll be just fine. Well, I'm not sure if we will be just fine, but we'll try to. You're on a boat, I'm gonna say. Why, yes I am. She looks at the deck under her feet. Green and white sails flutter overhead. Does she have a name? The boat? No. It is called... I would not say that personally, but that's the option. It is called... Oh, that's... I'm pretty sure that's not French. That's Portuguese. Could be Spanish? Doubt it. I don't think so. That's color. Cor de leite, 19. That means milk color, or the color of milk. Because that's the type of sloop it is. The word it feels strange. Such a beautiful boat deserves a proper name. Yeah, specifically I wouldn't use it because the English is weird and in that regard, and there's for sure cultural and historical reasons why ships, not just ships, but a lot of inanimate objects are given the pronoun she and her. And it's just sort of an historical thing because English has been doing that for a long while. And it's sort of weird as somebody who speaks Portuguese as a native tongue, as I keep referring to, and also this games that are not natively spoken in or written in English tend to bring up this sort of subject a lot on me. But the point is, my mother tongue, we give genders to everything. Like Spanish does that, French does that as well. Both Spanish and French do have neuter genders. Portuguese doesn't do that. And there's languages with multiple genders, but I think Swedish has like 4, or Finnish, is it Finnish? That is 4. Anyway, the point is, a boat would be masculine in Portuguese, and we would say we use pronouns a lot more as well than English does, because when you're referring to a boat, when you say just the word a boat and you translate that to Portuguese, the word a that we'd use is gendered, so you know immediately that I'm talking about a masculine gendered word. So this sort of conversation just doesn't translate very well, but it also it is a lot more consistent in English that machines, and especially machines and inanimate objects that are taken as valuable and worth preserving and all this sort of stuff, and just dear to us, are referred to as she. So I wouldn't say that not because I don't understand that I don't know that English does that. I just wouldn't say that because it does make me sort of uncomfortable, because it just sort of implies that we're referring to a woman rather than necessarily an object. And it's sort of interesting because I don't get that feeling in Portuguese because that's just how it is. But then in English it sort of makes it really awkward and weirdly sexist and just sort of it's like I don't know. And I say that and I use that preamble because I think here specifically Joyce correcting me very very plainly correcting me might make her be referring to this subject that I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. She's not really. Oh, maybe I can continue. No, I can't. I wish I could. I wish I could ask. What's wrong with calling it a she or calling her a she or something? I mean, it would be kind of jerkish for me to ask that, but I just wanted to see if her character is written like that. I don't know. But the word "it" feels strange. Such a yeah. So that's what I read before. Court of the Late 19. Well, that's the name. Cool, but your boat really needs a name. Yeah, that's the name. What do you mean really needs a name? I'm curious. I wouldn't say this, but I'm curious. Let's see what she has. She says, okay, how about Court of the Late 19? Why? She taps on the side of the boat. It makes a hollow sound. Oh, maybe it's weird. Maybe that line over there is not meant to come after this, because she's just repeating herself. There it is. Because it was manufactured in Ravachol East by a company called Court of the Late, and its hull is 19 paces long. Ex something, which I am still assuming it's my ex-wife. Could be ex-partner, could be anything really. But yeah, I'm just gonna go with this because it's curious and it's personal. And then Dolores there being a woman's name. And I'm just gonna say, how about ex something? The X something? The X what? Just X something. Very absurd, she nods. Thank you for the suggestion. I will stick with the factory name for now, but thank you. Yeah. It's a nautical tradition to give boats their names. They're christened. It's a Christian nautical tradition, specifically, because they're christened. They're christened in... even officially, I think in many navies they're still christened here in Europe. Then I assume the United States as well, and Canada and whatnot. Okay, but what kind of boat is it? It's a pleasure craft, a 19 pacer. It also happens to be rated for Category 1 racing, though these days I mainly use it for business. How do you like it? My sloop? Yeah, I like it a lot. Her lips curl into a wry smile. It's the eel's hips, baby. The eel's hips? I'm enjoying this part of the interview, says Kim. It has so little to do with the murder we're investigating. He's being sarcastic there. I really do. Our esprit de corps says. The lieutenant thinks, is she thrown off yet? He's looking at the woman, assessing her. He's looking at the woman and assessing her, yeah. Kim is. Oh. I don't know why. I don't know what it means, the first sentence there. I really do. But I think he's trying to help me out. Not a lot of people on boats, are there? Of course, there are. She looks around. We are on an archipelago. How else are you supposed to get around? What do you mean, archipelago? I mean, we are on Le Caillon. Or Caillon? Caillou, yeah. Are we not? She raises her brow. Still, I haven't seen anyone else sail a boat around here. I haven't seen anyone else drive a souped-up Capri Kinema motor carriage either. Actually, the lieutenant becomes defensive. That motor carriage has been specially issued to serve as a patrol and pursuit vehicle. It's for crossing long distances in the greater Ravachol Industrial Harbor. It's not a toy. Neither is this. The woman pats the cabin hardtop. A toy, I mean. It's a machine for crossing long distances in the Bay of Ravachol, between the city and the islands. She's having a good time arguing against the law. Too good, perhaps. Our authority. No, shut up, authority. You don't know anything. Do you have a license for this boat? No, maybe I shouldn't. Okay, I think I have a handle on the boat thing. Good. She takes a sip of her thermal cup. I still need to look into that. All I need to do is just go on Amazon and look up thermal cup, because I'll see if it's called like that. I'm pretty sure it isn't. In English, anyway. Okay, tell me about this alleged drug trafficking. Oh, it's quite straightforward. Someone is using Terminal B to smuggle raw ingredients from the Samaran Isola in Rajavachol with the Union's blessing. Wild Pines has suspected it for years. Ingredients for what, madam? Asks Kim. Meth and dextroamphetamine, GBL and various synthetic psychedelics. Honestly, it might be quicker to say what you can't make from the stuff. Okay, let me get this straight. The materials come from Samara to Rajavachol through the terminal? Oh yes. After they clear the terminal, we lose track. The actual production is taking place at various sites in and around Jamrock Quarter, north of here. Wild Pines seems to be well apprised of the local drug trade, madam, says Kim. Do you mean to say the Union also produces the product? Sell drugs, I mean? Actually, produces is not selling. I don't know what you're talking about, Kim. We're in logistics, she says. It's our business to know, and no, as far as the company knows, the Union does not produce it. They transport the ingredients for a cut. And you want us to investigate? Oh yeah, but you won't get anything out of Evrard and the other dock workers as Union. Still, she raises her bony finger, every chain has its weak link. The handoff, our logic deduces. The motor lorries at the roundabout. I know exactly where to look. The lorries. Precisely. Someone needs to move the ingredients from the harbor into the city. Once they reach Jamrock, they're distributed to a network of local manufacturers, well beyond our grasp. But in transit, they are vulnerable. Perhaps you've noticed that a number of lorries are tangled in a traffic jam at the roundabout just now. Interview the drivers who are still hanging about. One of them might be waiting for a crucial shipment. She gives you a knowing look. I'll be explicit. If you find this driver, I will share company secrets with you. It's no coincidence the lorries are stranded there like that, is it? No. We asked East Motor Tract to raise the drawbridge. The road company is a partner of one of our subsidiaries. However, and she pauses looking at the sea, this is a limited time opportunity. Once the complaint has been processed by the trade committee, they'll have no choice but to lower the drawbridge, and the operation will continue. She looks north. Thousands of liters of raw ingredients will pour onto the streets of Rajavachol, not the east across the river, but the west. The vulnerable, the weary. Well, says Kim, at least this solves one mystery. What is that, Lieutenant? Why, I had to call East Motor Tract and beg them to open the drawbridge for me. I'd wondered since I first drove in, on my motor carriage. Oh, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, Lieutenant Kitsuragi. We have never been trapped here, but we need them trapped here, she says. I don't know what I'm reading. This is a unique opportunity, I'm sure you understand. So, yeah, we already have some suspicions on one of the drivers, that one of the drivers was present at the lynching. The two might even be connected, she says. Or not, says Kim, though if you have an evidence on the contrary, I'm eager to hear it. As eager as I am to share it, Lieutenant, once the job is done. Okay, I've made up my mind about the smuggling investigation. Yes. We will take this case, probe the drivers, and see what yields. Excellent. She takes a long sip of tea. According to my reports, there are at least 3 lorry drivers lingering near the roundabout. Hopefully one of them will know something. It may come to nothing, or it may just blow the case. Wide open. I can keep the drawbridge up for a few more days at least. You should have the time you need. In the meantime, let me know if there's any other way I may be of assistance. She takes another long sip from her seemingly bottomless thermal cup. Either that or she just warming her lips. Thank you. That's all for now. That's pretty important. And also it's pretty important that she tells me that she can keep it up for a few more days. Because we're not going to have time to do it today, I don't think. We did level up, which is great. It was something that I needed to get better. I forget. I'll just keep this is going to be that kind of game, isn't it? It is going to be that kind of game. The game where I just keep the keep the levels there, sitting. I love it. I do enjoy that sort of gameplay. I'm sorry. Okay, so we need to look around a little bit. We came from down here. Right? No. Did we? No. Oh, this connects? Oh, dang it, I'm so bad at this. Can you keep running? I swear, it's not. I wonder if you can turn on auto run or always run. I don't think so. That would be good. Can I shift click? Nope. Shift clicking would also be a thing. Anyway, let's go back inside. And this will allow us to go to the balcony now and try to figure out where that other person went to. Hello. Okay. Keep running. Can zoom out in here, which is interesting. And to the balcony over there. It's really interesting that it says just above, as if it's like those exit signs and whatnot. I mean, literally, the other one was an exit sign. You hear distant traffic. Night is falling on the city. Yes, it is about time. So we have some things over here. I know exactly what I need for that. Well, right click. Money. Perfect. Just a door. Nothing for you here right now. Okay. So we're closing. There's a lot of bottles in there. That's good. Someone's growing rosemary, thyme, and a cactus. Door 28, a door to be remembered. This is the door to apartment 29. Wait. Complete silence. Whoever lives here isn't home. Yeah, but I can't do anything with the door, so it doesn't really matter. This is the door to apartment 30. Can I not get there? Oh, there's something here. Voices from within, singing along to some buoyant dance track. That's buoyant is a word for things. How do I get in there? I don't know. Is that accessible through the other door that we can't open? I wonder if I need these. Nope. I figured I wouldn't. Can't go anywhere though. Huh. Well, that's just how it is. So they're dancing, and we're getting out of here because we're out of time for the day as well. So for right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Disco Elysium. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye bye. There's things up there.